Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation. What is censorality? What is a censor? How is censorship defined? My rights continue to be violated, but we continue on with our derivation. So, refreshing and starting with our direct physical definition of what is a rhythm. From rhythm to algorithm, we started with the physical conceptualization, our one empirical reality that becomes an axiom. An axiom, again, is the mathematical articulation of a law, but it's not of a law, it's of this entire linguistic structure. Speciality is special with an ITY. The tendency to differentiate for sexual antagonism is the only proven axiom in human history. And it's, again, the complete linguistic reduction. Speciality is special with an ITY. We didn't introduce new syllability, meaning sounds associated to letters. We just showed this relationship between something already established by language. Special, speciality is literally the word special with this prefix, ITY. Specifically, it is what it is the form of all language. You can't break that at any point. So you just have special, it, and then this empirical sound we make, E, at the end of a word to generalize. Salt, salt, E. So special, it, Y. And it just produces this unique pronunciation, speciality. It has a unique definition that's immediately empirically true. Anytime somebody wants to be special, right, they are differentiating for sexual antagonism. And so that is the proven linguistic. That's the only axiom that exists. But this overall physical tendency for systems to tend to optimal efficiency is the empirical physical thing or physical process or physical tendency from which that axiom comes, right? To differentiate is tending to optimal efficiency for human beings, providing the most value for a sentient life form. It's like, hey, here I can provide value to my species by being different. And so, but physically, fundamentally, right, from rhythm to algorithm, we're emphasizing where this structure came from. It's still like, again, linguistic representation. Our fundamental physical thing, rhythm, that is a word representing this tendency to optimal efficiency. And then algorithm, still based on rhythm, but we have different syllability, letters representing that meaning, as well as conceptualization. Algorithm means something different than rhythm. But from rhythm, right, then we had this physical conceptualization of, hey, you're a sentient person. If your friend or your family member said, hey, can you help me move? Right? Unless they're 5,000 pounds or, they're 90, right? They're not asking you to help them lift up their leg and move the leg over here, right? Move a table, move a couch, right? If you're moving apartments. Or what is that logical association of move to movement? And so fundamentally, physically, the most empirical headspace of, again, if you try to do anything as efficiently as possible, you form a rhythm. But if you're urgently trying to do something efficiently, move a big heavy couch, move a big heavy dresser, that headspace that you are immediately in is, I need to minimize the amount of steps to accomplish this movement to be most efficient. So we have this empirical physical reality of the desire to minimize steps to optimize efficiency, and then we associate this linguistic term rhythm to that process. And so then fundamentally, physically, completely mathematically, what is a rhythm? And I guess physically, but physics, math, logic, linguistics, all really the same thing. Because all of our, again, description of the world comes with language. But a rhythm is a set of steps. So from rhythm, a set of steps, to algorithm, this sorting process by inanimate objects. And then we have this linguistic element. Algorithm is a direct iteration of logarithm, this fundamentally defined operator, which is, again, logarithm is the inverse of exponentiation. We've proven at this point this operative word, what is exponentiation, is a statement of reiteration. We have a base, we have a power, we have a rank, we have a degree, a statement of self-multiplication, a reiteration of the base itself. And so a rhythm is a set of steps. Logarithm is the inverse of exponentiation. Logarithmicality is the inverse of reiteration. That's really where we're at completely. And again, we're having this stabilizing syllability, censorality, to draw this fundamental relationship again, of a differentiation already made. And so, but back to our not analogy of helping somebody move, a step is a move, right? It's your move. The ball is in your court, your move. It's this, again, fundamental physical word, move meaning movement, but in this logical presentation is what we're emphasizing. Fundamental theorem of logic, a step is a move. Natural definition. What is nutrition to satiation? Is prerogative reciprocal? That's one of the spellings I wanted to emphasize on a personal level. Prerogative, again, even the steps that I'm emphasizing on personal spelling, it's more of like, hey, this is syllability or words that I say as a natural English speaker, but it's still the assignment of shape of letters to that sound. It's like, prerogative being one of them. Tragedy is tragic. Sensorality is tragicality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality talks sense into. Direct iteration. What is pity to a pittance? What is inauguration to inoculation? Sensorality is inaugurality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Are lenses sensors? So again, this linguistic element with conceptualization, lenses, produces sense with this iteration. Same as censorship with the C has a direct iteration of censor contained within it, of censor with an S. Are sensorality, or are senses lenses? Direct iteration. Sensorality is a sensory lens. Sensorality senses lensing. Direct iteration, again emphasizing the ontological use, gravitational lensing. Are sensors serious? Is stimulation sensory? Sensorality is a sensory center. Natural definition, direct iteration. A center is a complex. A center is a facility. Sensorality is the center of a building. Natural definition, direct iteration, again, building, edifice, edificio in Espanol. Fundamental theorem of linguistics, sensorality is a sense of language. So now, logarithm, algorithm, language, gauge. Sensorality is a language lens. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is a lens to a gauge? What is consistency to complacency? Is sensation a place? Sensorality is a quiet place. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is quiet soft? Is quiet smooth? Is quiet calm? Sensorality is quiet, too quiet. Direct iteration, what is melody to method? So again, order of operation, standard operating procedure, MO, method of standard operating procedure, order. Again, those three analogies all using operation, but emphasizing in method containing that OD syllability. Sensorality is methodology. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is theology methodology? Direct iteration. What is chronology to methodology? Sensorality is a chronological method. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is methodology algorithmic? Sensorality is methodologicality. Methodical, no. I can't methodologicality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Something about the pronunciation is immediately throwing me right now. But methodical, methodologicality. That's what we're going for. What is logic to sense? Sensorality is the logic of light. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is the logic of love. Natural definition, direct iteration. Lava, love. What is dissonance to dysphoria? Again, rhythm, algorithm, different spellings, dissonance, dysphoria, I to Y. Sensorality is dysphoriality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is dysphoricality. Natural definition, direct iteration. phosphorus dysphoria? Is dysphoria sporadic? Sporadicality is disorder. Natural definition. Dissonance does not make sense. Direct iteration. What is sense to sound? Sensorality is sound judgment. Natural definition. What is sense to rhythm? What is judgment to placement? What is judgment to discernment? What is discernment to displacement? Sensorality is replacement. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is reiteration to replacement? What is reinforcement to retaliation? Is melody melancholy? Sensorality is melancholy. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality is melodramaticality. What is rhythm to hype? Direct iteration. Denigration causes dissonance. Sensorality is mean. Sensorality is by any means necessary. Direct iteration. Mean words have meaning. What is sensing to meaning? Is meaning easy? Direct iteration. What is melody to word? What is method to word? Direct iteration. Sensorality is a sensor lens. Sensorality lenses sensors. Direct iteration. What are sensors to senses? Is sensation feeling? What is tension to feeling? What is feeling to liking? Risk likes liability. Direct iteration, again, like, lie. Sensorality is reprisal. Sensorality is reprisality. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is retribution to reprisal? What is reprisal to retaliation? Sensorality recalibrates. What is calibration to vibration? Is sensation calibration? Sensorality resenses. Direct iteration. Sensorality reinforces sensation. Fundamental theorem of logic, sensorality reiterates sensation, emphasizing that logical progression of iteration, reiteration, our logical inverse, our inverse to logarithmicality. But again, for this inversion, remember, the statement, our chronology, something exists first, right? So does exponentiation exist and then logarithmicality exist? Right? We're still just getting this one direct linguistic chronological consequence in order. We just have to have all the mathematical operations in order. It's all represented in the language. But emphasizing sensorality reiterates sensation, the word reiteration. Sensorality rescues, direct iteration. Sensorality is a rescue, emphasizing the geometry and construction of rescue, re-SQ. Sensorality recues, direct iteration. Sensorality recuses. Resuscitation rescues, direct iteration. Sensorality is resuscitationality. Resuscitation, citation, emphasizing that base pair or not base pair, but that containment. I think containment, again, super minor analytical step. If containment meaning a whole word completely spelled out in between the letter structure of the end letters. But resuscitation spells out citation. Does resuscitation restructure? Is spelling consistent? Is context consistent? What is content to context? You can understand what I'm saying. So what is the consistent part? What is resuscitation to regurgitation? Is regurgitation agitation? What is agility to agitation? Speciality antagonizes, speciality agitates, speciality aggravates. Sensorality is a familiar summary. Orality summarizes. Direct iteration. What is verbalized to summarize? What is oralization to verbalization? What is summary to epitome? Sensorality is a soliloquy. Natural definition, direct iteration, emphasizing the spelling of soliloquy. One of these words certainly I've heard in English, but the overall just syllability construction, it's like What word is related to soliloquy? Solution, maybe? Solid? But just the overall letter structure struck me as novel enough to write it down in the context of all these other steps. What is soliloquy to philosophy? Direct iteration. Is philosophy methodology? Is methodology protocol? Is an algorithm a method? Fundamental theorem, a method is a practice. Natural definition, right? When you go to your doctor's private practice, you hope he's not practicing. Sensorality practices. Sensorality is why practice makes perfect. Direct iteration. Is proof perfect? Practice is an act. Practice lattice. Sensorality is a crystal lattice. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is crystallization to stabilization? Is crystalline stable? What is style to hype? Qua est un stylo? What is pen to pencil? Let's put pen to paper. What about pen to pencil? Direct iteration. Stylo, styles. Stylus, excuse me. Style. What is a stylus to a stylo? Emphasizing the French to English spelling of pen. Pretty sure stylo's a pen, I think. I think crayon is the pencil. Which is another one, right? It's crayon. Right? In English, we'd say crayon is like a name brand. But crayon and stylo en français. Pen, pencil in English. Sensorality is a stylus. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is a stylus to a syllabus? Is mediocrity melancholy? Sensorality learns spelling, direct iteration. What is learning to lensing? Direct iteration. Is spelling fundamental? Is spelling elemental? Fundamental theorem of physics. Elementality is irreducible. But Brad, you can separate the hydrogen atom into a proton and electron. It's not what I mean by elementality. Just this fermions can't stack on fermions. Charge is definite. The dynamic of charge is mass. You can't put mass on top of mass. That is elementality. This spacing produced by things existing. Sensorality spills the beans. Sensorality spills the spelling. Direct iteration. What is elementality to form? What is elementality to placement? Sensorality procures. Sensorality is procurement. What is a cue to a cure? Direct iteration. Sensorality thinks that's its cue. Direct iteration. Shout out to Amber Heard in Never Back Down. Jake Tyler. Oh, I think that's my cue. And then she goes over to Johnny Depp's bed, and we all saw what happened there. It's a tragedy. What is a cue to a cause? Direct iteration. Cause is cue iterated by as. Direct iteration, complete. Right, so this cause is cue iterated by as, direct, and it's again just alternated as well. What Q, and then AS between C and U, S between U and E directly. And so again, I think we uniterate sensorality's iterated syllability, and then it just directly produces our sensorality, and the leftover words from that reduction process is where from rhythm to algorithm came from, and which will produce the structure from the next axiomatic derivation. So you have to reproduce this entire linguistic structure. Just fun, right? Professor Carroll, come on, big guy, you're up next. We weren't sure. Well, now we should be pretty sure. The law still doesn't exist, no one cares. What is iteration to factorization? What is integration to instigation? What is instigation to insurgency? Sensorality surges, direct iteration, momentum surges. Is a gush a surge? What is surging to purging? What is purging to pinging? What is pinging to singing? What is surging to plunging? Is a plug a sensor? Is inversion consistent? Is inversion conserved? Sensorality conserves inversion. Sensorality saves verse. Direct iteration. Saving is storing. Natural definition. What is storing to converting? What is conserving to converting? Sensorality converts conversation. Is translation conversion? Converting changes. Does iteration convert? Does reiteration convert? What is unwinding to unfolding? Sensorality unfolds, direct iteration, OD, old, fold. Sensorality is a set amount. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensorality amounts to nothing. Direct iteration, in vain amounts to nothing. Direct iteration. Sensorality is in the same vein. Direct iteration, vain, V-A-I-N, vain, V-E-I-N. Sensorality is reference frame. Sensorality is a frame of reference. Perspective is a frame of reference. Sensorality is a cultural reference. Verbiage that we've produced in here, you can't reference, or you're all bounded by the same cultural references. Natural definition, direct iteration, is a culture a frame? Is a culture a lens? To be framed is to be set up. Sensorality sets frame. Direct iteration, is rhythm fixed, right? A set amount of steps. Set is set, logically meaning it doesn't change. Is rhythm set? Is rhythm dynamic? So again, we're still just progressing, just have to get the right question, and that's just done by progressing this consistent syllability. So we have a question that we can answer directly and immediately. Rights continue to be violated. You continue to throw away my life. My value of what I provided is clear and present. The destruction of my property and my health is clear and present. I continue to beg for a little bit of money to eat properly, to sleep properly, and to work. And as always, nobody cares. Since we said some F words in this episode, French words, but just another example of again, what is a language? And just consistency of pronunciation, or like words that really popped out to me that I'm thinking of is like grand nuit, or andouille, like the sausage. But if I were to, again, you start with the last syllable first, and then you go backwards syllable by syllable, or fundamental elements of meaning. And I keep wanting to say a language is like this consistent pronunciation. So right, if we had andouille, but to me that's a contraction. That wouldn't actually be like French, so to speak. No, I'm sure this is gonna cause some big uproars, but like to me it would be andouille, right? Because like I don't know why. From the construction, it's like, oh yeah, we don't pronounce certain words or letters at the end of the French words, but it's just like, again, to me, at this point, like what is a language is kind of a consistency of pronunciation, right? All of the Romance languages use the Roman alphabet. And so we use these letters to preserve pronunciation, but when you take a word like andouille, and it's just like that pronunciation, it makes sense, right? You get the on, do, e, but it's like, why is the l off? And so to me, that's like, it's like slang on top of slang. It's like you're taking what would be considered French if you said, here's this consistency, here's the Roman alphabet, here's our resonance, here's our consonants, and here's how we progress through these words consistently. But to me, it's just something throws me about that. Like I keep wanting to say that you would say andouille, and you would actually pronounce the last syllable to be consistent to that presentation of, hey, here's what these shapes represent for these sounds. And so, because you definitely, to derive a natural pronunciation, if you're confident learning, because again, the letters, what is a letter to a syllable? Again, the syllable being the fundamental unit of meaning, which is the sound, and then we represent those syllables. And so to derive the correct pronunciation, you always start with the last syllable, and you pronounce that, and you just work backwards, and that's the right pronunciation. And that's this, again, inversion, chronology, heuristic for spelling for sure. And so if you had andouille, right, you would start with you go le, andouille, le, like that prefixing, like the or the E-L-L, I-L-L-E, specifically in French, would always to me be il. But it's just like, again, then we're still really logically, what is a language? And to me at this point, it's this consistency of pronunciation. And when you say andouille or grenouille, it's just like, I don't know, it's just something about that strikes me as like, what is going on here? And then we're talking about French. So on top of that, it's like, you know, we're saying cimer now. It's like, what in the world? But again, languages are not fundamental at this point, clearly. But still something about this pronunciation, specifically in French, that the E, or I-L-L-E, I don't know why that chops off, why that was not andouille, grenouille, je ne sais pas. But I'm sure a bunch of people like not even get what I'm saying, or like getting what I'm saying, but they're just like, we don't say those words, or those letters, or those syllables. I'm just like, why? Because the correct pronunciation is last syllable first, and then you build back the pronunciation, le, il, andouille. But yeah, I don't know, just something to point out, something that was just going through my head with these evil F words that is the French language. But that is what I have for now. My rights continue to be violated and no one cares. My life is destroyed. My life quality is truly zero. I don't like to bog down the videos too much, even though I cite it in every video. Please let me live some quality of life. Obviously, no one cares. That is what I have for now. See you on the next one.